Agenda where it's at, dude. We the best. Another one.
That's not Dr. Dre.
Another one.
It is another one. Another episode.
You're smart, Frank. You're successful. Another one.
Speaking of doctors, we're going to see if
Welcome.
welcome to another episode of Into the West Comics. We're going to see if we can get 3 out of 4 doctors to agree on just how awesome this trailer was that we saw this past weekend.
Super cool.
But first, to introductions.
Oh, yeah.
Sonny is here.
Yo, it's good to be back. I think this trailer was probably one of the coolest things we've gotten out of the Super Bowl. Other than that halftime show we were just talking about. It was pretty great.
The game was pretty good, too.
Game was
Game
good.
was good.
Game was awesome, but halftime show. Yeah, I mean, that was my intro. That was my intro.
Hot Dog Paul is here.
This falls apart a little bit more every single week.
We'll get it locked in. We'll get it locked in.
There's no structure.
Hello, I'm here, as always. And I love everyone here, as always.
And he got all pretty and cleaned up for you.
Dude, I've never seen you with no facial hair.
Mr. Handsome himself.
Well,
That's what his mom used to do.
Oh, my Lord.
In all his glory.
Wink,
yeah.
wink.
This is great because, like, you could see how prevalent my double chin is without my facial hair. It's like, wow.
We're going to edit that out later.
Yeah, well, good luck.
It's live.
But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that's right.
I'm Shaven and Raven, and let's do this, man.
Shaven and Raven.
Shaven and Raven.
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of Raven, we're going to take a look at Ms. Wanda and see how crazy she appears to be in this trailer coming up. Guys, we got the trailer that we were kind of waiting for. We heard rumors. We weren't sure if we were getting some type of MCU sizzle reel going into this past Super Sunday, but we got the new trailer for Doctor Strange.
Yes.
The Multiverse of Madness. We're going to check it out right now and then react and speculate wildly about what we think.
Oh,
we're going to see.
I don't even want to get in. I'm crazy. I think what? This will be bigger than Spider-Man for sure.
I dream the same
Not cell-wise, but what it does to it.
Oh, for sure.
The nightmare begins.
Nightmare, remember that, guys.
Yeah, of course. It's
I
Mephisto.
did what I had to do to protect our world.
You cannot control everything, Strange.
Yeah.
You opened the doorway between universes. We don't know who or what will walk through it.
Oh, that's an important line, too.
Of course. What do you know about the multiverse?
Viz had his theories. He believed it was dangerous.
I wonder who that is.
I think it's Scarlet Witch attacking.
He was right.
Good Dormelage.
I'm sorry, Stephen. Your desecration of reality
This scene is
will go
Okay, there was a lot of chairs
We
up
should
there.
tell him the truth. Things just got out of hand.
You break the rules. Look out! To become a hero. I do it, I become the enemy. It doesn't seem fair.
So they're gonna fade for sure.
Yeah, buddy.
This shot. Oh my gosh, dude.
Stupid. May 6th.
Wow.
Dude, and I didn't even get to see during Super Bowl or anything. I had to go like look it up.
Same
and
here.
I had to like put headphones in, and I went in the corner, and I'm like, this is crazy.
It was cool.
So I don't even know where to start to unpack on that. I mean,
the thing that obviously jumps off the page at everyone is the Professor X in the room.
oh my God.
Mhm.
So do you think we're going to be getting like all the Illuminati characters? Or do you think this is going to be a pieced up version of maybe like a multiverse? Because a lot of people have been doing videos already, clearly, and we've seen all kind of stuff all over the internet. But of course, we see Professor X in his chair in the middle, clearly because he's in his chair. It'll be probably close to accurate as the comic, or excuse me, the cartoon one with the what is it, the concept art that they were putting out. But who else is going to be on those chairs? And do we get like a new Black Bolt? Do we get like?
Nah, I think Mordo's on there. I think
Same.
it's Mordo from a different universe.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
there's like action figures, and he's named Master Mordor. So
Yeah,
I
so-
think he's getting like a different title or a different person. So who else could be on this list?
Well, maybe Tom Cruise, Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
buying that one.
I know,
think
but
I think he might be in it, but I don't think that character we saw was Tom Cruise. I think they've been talking about a lot of that for a long time.
I've actually like warmed up to that idea. At first, I was like, I don't need that. But I mean, if he's just gonna be there and be like, hey, I'm part of the Illuminati, cool. And
Yeah.
maybe be brought back if his reception is warm. I think that would be cool, and I think it'd be a fun way to broaden the universe. And then maybe one day we get a Robert Downey Jr., Tom Cruise, Iron Man team up. That would be cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know,
So
because
epic.
and I would love to see Iron Man in the Illuminati, because his like Illuminati Iron Man suit is like really
Super
cool.
cool.
It's like black and silver or something, if I remember correctly.
Silver and white, or
Silver-
Superior.
Superior Iron Man,
Yeah,
where his
it's-
face is cut out.
Yeah, it's super cool. And like that's the only thing I'm kind of like curious about is whether, or not only thing, but like in regards to Illuminati,
Yeah.
is whether or not there's going to be an Iron Man, Tom Cruise, and like you see the other alternate universe Ultron
Yeah.
bots that kind of look more
Yeah.
similar to the comics.
Yeah.
I thought upon the first time I watched it, I was like, is that supposed to be like an Annihilation thing or
Uh-huh.
a Nihilist thing?
Mhm.
Because I've really wanted to see Annihilation is probably my favorite Marvel event comic. I think it's really
Sick.
cool.
That's up there.
I think in the MCU now they can do like an interesting thing with it because they've done the same thing the comics has.
Yeah.
Thanos is like a flawed villain who people kind of understand. He comes back and he's going to help them in Annihilation, the comic, and
Right.
then Drax finally fulfills his "I was built to kill Thanos" thing, and
Yeah.
then everyone's like, "Why did you just do that? You just
You just
have
ruined
n-
unwritten
we
a
can't
bunch of
do it
stuff.
now." But I think I don't know. I'm excited to see what this story is and what stories come out of it.
Same.
And Sonny was saying that he thinks it's going to be bigger than Spider-Man. I mean, Donovan was like, what? And then he was like, well, in regards to like the shockwaves through the rest of the universe,
Yeah.
not monetarily.
Totally.
I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, no, no.
absolutely.
Yeah,
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 for
Yeah,
sure,
as far as the
definitely.
impact is concerned, I don't know that any movie will top
Yeah,
Spider-Man. We got
not like
three
that.
generations of Spider-Man in
It
one
was
movie.
amazing.
Like that
Yeah.
was a pop culture phenomenon
For
that
sure.
we witnessed. This movie
100%.
looks fun. It looks like there's a lot in there. I'll say that I'm 95% excited and then 5% worried,
Oh, okay.
just because of too much. Are we going to get too much, and is it going to be like,
Possibly.
Oh my God, where
Probably.
do we go?
Probably.
That's obviously Patrick Stewart.
100%.
I've
So
heard
cool.
theories floating around there that it's that at one point Doctor Strange goes into a cartoon, and that he's in the X-Men '97
Yeah, I've
cartoon.
heard some
Ooh.
stuff
Right,
about
I've heard that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Space Jam New Legacy stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they
yeah.
but in the
Great.
trailer they show But in the trailer, they show
when he's breaking through the dimensions, you see like
animation
like a cone and stuff, and it looks just like the 90s cartoon.
But this is the reason why I don't think it's Tom Cruise, because when you're thinking from a marketing perspective,
you're not going to put that in the trailer.
Well, you would put it in the trailer, but I think that they would announce that Tom Cruise has signed on for the movie to get people talking in a buzz. Patrick Stewart, not so much, because that is the surprise that we're going to get.
I used to agree with you until the season finale of Mandalorian season 2, because my big reasoning for why I didn't think Mark Hamill was going to be in it was because it would have been leaked. Somebody would have said something about it, and then no one did. It was never leaked. It was speculated upon, obviously, but it was never like, hey, yeah, this is going to happen. Yeah, I know, I stumbled over my word. And then it happened, and I was like, oh, so they're doing a much better job of disguising who's going to be in movies nowadays.
Yeah.
Sure.
The Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield one was kind of hard because everyone was just like, this is obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
it was the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
I don't even have to see anything. Like, for the most part, everyone was like, I don't even have to see anything to prove this. Like, this movie is just obviously going to happen.
But there were people searching.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But, yeah, I used to agree with that sentiment, that if you hadn't heard about it, him being on set or something like that, he wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, Marshall Lowe said in the chat here, still a horror movie, which is really interesting to me because Sam Raimi, if you don't know who Sam Raimi is, wake up, do your research. But he is the guy that really brought horror generation into, like, that was his first movie, was Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And he was like a horror genius from that.
Yeah.
And which is totally right. If you watched Evil Dead now, I watched the old Evil Dead now, and I'm like, this is still kind of creepy. The Army of Darkness, and then the other one, not so much.
Right.
But the first one is kind of creepy.
It
so
is.
I'm curious as to see what horror elements, and then the last shot we get of like Zombie Strange, and then the zombies behind him doing the same thing, like the callback that they did from Infinity War when he did that.
A lot of people, which clearly it's not, but a lot of people were like, that looks like Null. What if that was Null? And I'm like,
Donnie
not.
Cates actually
debunked that.
He clarified that early on.
Yeah.
It was probably during the first quarter of the game.
Okay.
He says that's not Null.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Just to make sure you know.
And he said, like,
character design, it looks cool, and if that's what we're going for, I mean, I'm so excited to see what Null would look like live action. But that got debunked really quick.
Yeah. So they did show different Stranges. They showed
Defender Strange with the ponytail, and
which is interesting. So I think he's going to encounter different Doctor Stranges in different universes.
Oh, for sure.
I think ultimately when Wanda gets in, she has that line: "Is it why is it when you do something you get praised for it, but if I do it, I get shunned? That's not fair."
Yeah, they're definitely gonna throw down.
They're gonna throw down,
sure.
and then
I'm so stoked.
And then I think she's going to see that there are other people like her in different universes, mutants. And she's gonna go, instead of no more mutants, she's gonna say let there be mutants.
Yeah.
And that will birth the X-Men in the MCU. That's kind of like what I'm seeing. And then there's the callback when he's got the square blocks.
Yeah, it looks like the No More Mutants, the
House of M.
That cover.
The cover.
The cover of it. So
that's such a shout out for sure.
That's interesting. If you guys haven't read the Illuminati, I would encourage you to do so. There's some great stuff with Namor and
he's a cool
Reed Richards.
I was just gonna say, we haven't mentioned Reed Richards.
That's what
he hasn't been cast yet. Could this be the cameo that
this is the one I want, man?
We get John Krasinski, or we get the original actor that played.
It's one or the other.
That would
be
cool.
I would be okay with that. I would love more for Krasinski to be in it, because we've been all needing that for forever. But if they did do the shout out and brought the OG one back, it would be cool.
We know that they've been reshooting. They went back to do reshoots in November or October. To add more cameos.
Yeah, because after they saw all the buzz, they were like, you know what?
They could absolutely do that.
Let's bring them
on. Adding more.
I would love to see, and I thought about this, and I thought it would be a lot of fun. There's been a lot of rumors that Deadpool might be in this, and then in the poster there's a glass thing, but Ryan Reynolds has come out and said, I'm not in this movie. We've heard that before.
Exactly.
We've heard it before.
Come on, man.
But I would love for Deadpool to exist in the MCU the same way Stan Lee existed in the MCU.
I like that.
With cameos,
With cameos. Yeah. So he comes in and goes, so this is the MCU.
I'm like,
wow. Look at that. Where's Mickey? I want to meet Mickey. Like, it's something really funny and silly.
Just for a couple seconds, in every movie.
Yeah, in every movie we see him. I think that would be a lot of fun to play with. But
like
this
that.
movie, I, as far as the implications are concerned, I think you're right, Sonny. I think this is going to totally
change everything
that we knew about the MCU.
For sure.
Like I said, I'm super excited for it, but I'm also a little
scared,
trepidatious.
little scared.
I think this trailer, I was a little more trepidatious before this trailer, but this has like quelled a lot of my concerns.
Sure.
I think it looked a little more cohesive and a little more interesting than I thought it was going to. I don't know if it's just 'cause I hadn't seen anything from it, and I was like, I don't know. But then they kind of like roped me back in with this trailer, which they always do.
Of course.
And there's gone through a process of reshoots.
Yeah.
And then, as mentioned, the additional cameos.
Yeah.
Because for whatever they did in their process of showing it to the powers that be, they said, it's not working.
Yeah,
I mean, this has had some issues, and it's one of the things that has made Donovan, for one, a little nervous about this whole movie.
Yeah, this process.
And I mean, the trailer looks insane.
It looks good, yeah.
Looks really
will it
crazy.
have all of the fan base fully invested? Are they gonna be kind of like, what is happening? Because I've still talked to people that haven't watched What If.
Right.
And they're trying to connect these dots, and I think No Way Home has started this kind of like
gotta have watched everything.
They start this momentum thing to where you're like, oh, wait a minute. When you get into this Doctor Strange film, they're like, oh wait, he's in it, and then they show this person. They're like,
up on it.
That guy's in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
that's the cool.
To add an extra layer to that is I want to know what you guys think. I think maybe this Professor X thing was very late in the game, and it was part of the reshoots. And I think maybe the original person in the trailer that was going to say something like that was going to be Kang. And maybe Kang would be part of the Illuminati, and we would see Kang.
It's interesting that you said that, because before we came in here, he said Kang might have been that person that everybody thinks is superior Iron Man or anybody else in a suit. Because it has that open.
I think Kang used to be a part of the Illuminati, because we see a chair that's missing.
Well,
that's
it can
empty,
be a version of Nathaniel Richards.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that they said, see ya, you're off of the Illuminati. You're going crazy, and we can't handle what you're doing to all these universes. Like, you're destroying everything. You got to stop.
We had, what was it, like 6 or 7 chairs up there. We know that Black Panther is going through some shoots, and we're getting that in time comes.
In the Illuminati story, he's invited, but he declines. He declines.
Yeah. So that would be a cool thing to mention. It would also be cool to do, I keep saying this, we're going to get Michael B. Jordan coming back in some way, and I think he might be...
Oh, interesting. That could be the way that they get him Black Panther
to be in this Illuminati cast. Because even if we don't get them to do this crazy fight scene, even if you just see a certain 6 characters on the screen at one time for, I don't know, 5 minutes or even less, for them to just go through a judgment scene, it would destroy everything. Like the internet would be completely broken.
Whatever they do is not going to be some discounted version of whatever they're thinking is.
Because everybody knows that that's
plan.
what that council scene is going to be. You know what I mean?
I watched Doctor Strange 2 nights ago, the first one, and there's a super important line that Mordo says. Mordo says.
I said Mordo earlier.
You did. I didn't say anything.
That he says when he sees Strange using the time stone, he goes, if you keep messing with this, the bill comes due.
Yeah, dude.
If you keep doing things like this, the bill comes due.
That's
and
a
I
good
think
line.
the bill is coming due in this movie, and we're going to see some crazy stuff.
And I mean, I've talked about it before. Baron Mordo is one of my favorite villains, because he's like one of those ones that you identify with him.
Yeah, you agree with him. You're like, your cause is actually right.
Yeah, because all these guys are messing stuff up, and you're like, well, they can't mess stuff up if they're not around. And that for me is still like all the extra Professor X universe stuff. That is still like my core interest in this film. Yeah. Especially because I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. I always butcher it. The Baron Mordo actor, Chutwil Ejiofor. I said I wasn't, and then I did it.
Perfect.
That was really good.
And he's fantastic. I love him in everything I've ever seen him in.
Really good actor.
And I'm excited to see him and Benedict Cumberbatch, because we forget Cumberbatch is a great actor. He doesn't always have the opportunity to go back and forth with someone. And I think him and Chutwil
would be really good together.
Side note, watch Year of the Dog with Benedict Cumberbatch. Go on.
Boom.
Yeah, do
Great
that.
movie.
But like we got the White Vision and regular Vision talk in WandaVision.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a similar kind of moment with Mordo and Strange. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that this is just the one that we saw kind of doing his thing, or is this another universe version?
I hope it's the same one. I
Yeah,
want to
so
see.
do I.
want to see.
I would like that as well.
He just grew his hair out.
But I wouldn't be like
I think it's different.
upset.
Yeah, it's
I
probably
think
is.
he's chasing one of those evil versions of Doctor Strange.
I think
and he is the Sorcerer Supreme in their
of his universe. Yes. I also think that when the opening scene is probably going to be the Doctor Strange waking up in the room tripping out because Defender Strange died. So I think in his nightmares when he's waking up out of not being able to see them is when whoever, I think Wanda or learns that you can absorb people's powers like Strange was doing, and then starts to end up doing that to all of them.
I guess maybe you could say he took the Sorcerer Supreme spot to try to be able to eliminate everyone, then he'll eliminate himself.
That's what I think.
But the only reason I'm
Suicide
kind of I don't know if I want Mordo to be the Sorcerer Supreme, because that would kind of be contradictory to what he's all about.
His vouch.
But I guess maybe in that universe he's like,
that
well,
universe might be Jack.
This would be the best way to get rid of all these things. 'Cause that's the most interesting thing
Become
to me
the
about
strongest
Mordo is he is a wizard, whatever you want to call him, sorcerer, who is trying
Wizard
to
of Waverly Place.
who's trying to yes, exactly. Selena Gomez, shout out Illuminati, Selena Gomez. And he's gonna try to get rid of all the sorcerers.
Demonetized.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do.
Frank, what are some of your theories,
Listen,
man?
with
When you watched it, what did you think?
I lost my mind. When they show this group, we don't know if it's like the Stark or Ultron bots that are walking him in.
Dude.
I mean, it just gives you that total vibe feel of him being interrogated by the council because he has fractured time, even though he fixed things, so we thought.
No.
And at the end of No Way Home, he may have created a bigger issue for himself.
Agreed.
And I think that, I think they're trying to talk to him like, we need your help. Are you on the same page? Are we going to have to put you someplace?
Put you someplace, exactly.
But there's still one really big question. What caused the multiverse? Was it Doctor Strange or was it Loki?
I think it was.
Or was it Wanda?
Or was it Wanda?
I think it was everything. Everybody.
Okay, yeah,
everybody
sure, that
doing
makes sense.
things that you guys are going way too far. There's too many people's ideas going out, and I think Wanda definitely had a huge case in that.
They broke down that I think it was New Rockstars or Heavy Spoilers. They did some type of breakdown where they show her with the blood running down her face or the blood on her face,
mm-hmm.
and when
the two scenes
they're showing like two holding cells.
So
okay,
yes,
I think that those holding cells. If you look earlier in the trailer, they show Christine,
Chavez.
With America Chavez in one of the holding cells. Okay. I think that in Wanda's eyes that she sees when they're zooming in, is probably removed from it, are the kids.
Yeah.
Are her children. And that's the thing that makes her snap. There's got to be something that's going to make Elizabeth Olsen have blood running down her face.
Can I tell you what I thought it was at first? Because usually when you look into someone's eyes, they're looking at one thing and you can see the reflection of one thing in both eyes.
Right.
I thought at first, because I thought maybe this was a post Let There Be Mutants thing that she did, and she went in and saw Wolverine being made. I thought it was the tank that Wolverine was
maybe with the adamantium getting
with the
injected.
adamantium thing. So, but I'm sure I'm completely wrong on that. That's really
crazy.
Reaching. But when I watched it, I went, that looks like Wolverine's tank. But
no, you're talking
I could
totally be
wrong.
Tinfoil hat cap. I'm down. I'm like, yeah.
You're talking about a trailer that blew your mind, and then what potentially this movie could be. Can you imagine the post-credit scenes? What is going to happen? What's going to be coming out of this?
Dude, I was just thinking that 5 minutes ago. Like, what post-credit scene could we get from this? That's a great question. What do you guys think?
And you know we're getting something too. I guess it just depends on how far they're taking this.
I say Kang is the post-credit scene.
Possibly, but we're going to get two if they're going to go traditional fashion. But it really depends on how far they take this movie, because I mean, Fantastic Four, X-Men, there's so many different things that we can be getting out of this movie.
So that kind of leads me into my question is, are we going one big bad for the arc of the next whatever, like the last one was the Infinity Saga,
right?
Are we going, there's going to be one big bad, as in like if it's Kang
or somebody
or
else.
Maybe Galactus pulls up. Marshall's been talking about Galactus in the chat a lot.
I would love that, but that we would really have to let that thing bake.
Or are we gonna do like? There's a bunch of big threats in the universe, and we're dealing with them now. We're dealing with like Kang. Okay, now we're dealing with Galactus. We're dealing with Kang again. We're dealing with Galactus again. We're dealing with. Oh, now there's. Excuse me. Sorry. There we go.
Every episode.
He sneezes.
And Noel, and I think we'll get Noel. And we have to get Noel in Love and Thunder. We have to, or Gore doesn't work.
Yes,
or at least a reference to it, or
right, a reference to it. Yeah. So I'm like, who would it be, the big bad, and B, who do I want it to be? I'm like, sometimes I think I want it to be Kang, and then I'm like, no, I want it to be Noel, and then I want it to be. We're spoiled for choice right now, and I'm excited.
That's the coolest part about everything, because like back in the day, like it was just a movie would come out and we just have to wait and see what happens. Now all this connection, it's infinite, dude. Imagine Galactus pulling up, dude. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Then you
on
gotta
top
get
of all this other stuff.
Then you gotta get Keanu Reeves, Silver Surfer. I'm still going with that. And then, like you said, that's gotta bake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You really have to, because Galactus is we've been introduced to Celestials. That's great introduction there.
Super cool.
But I think Kang is the next big bad.
Me too.
I hope so.
That just makes the most sense right now because of his introduction in Loki, what his involvement will be in the Quantum Mania, and then maybe what he might show up in this movie in a post-credit scene, or maybe towards the end, like maybe Mordo says, "You have no idea what you just did. This man has ruined every universe he's been in." And he ruined my universe. Yeah. And he's now going to ruin yours. So something along those lines of like, we know who this is. We know who this might be. But I wanted to say this quick because you mentioned Thor: Love and Thunder, and we're getting Jane Foster as Thor.
Yeah.
I think that Jane is from another universe and is a result of what happens in the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that to me makes the most sense with what the MCU is doing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what happens in the comics.
Right.
Because it is very different.
The story is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as we get closer
I'm trying to figure out how they're going to do
Love
that.
and Thunder, we can get a little bit onto like the source material as far as the comics go.
Right.
I love that.
We know that we're going to get we're going to get a lot of fighting, and we're going to get a war when we get to this movie.
Yes.
But right now we're going to give Peace a chance. Peacemaker's finale came out.
Nice.
Yep. Interesting.
Guys, the show is
it was interesting.
It's been a pleasant. I think it's been a pleasant surprise. I really didn't know what to expect from this show.
Me neither,
I didn't really have.
I didn't have
high
expectations. I had
expectations.
0 expectations. It was on my least anticipated.
But Sonny, you liked John Cena as Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad.
In the
film.
Suicide Squad, so I knew that the show was going to be something different, and I was cool with them going, like we keep saying, with kind of like the route of the boys and going a little darker, a little bit more on the humor. I mean, it's been a really fun ride. I say it every time. I haven't been waiting for midnight to like catch it or anything, but It's been a really fun ride. Every time I watch it, I'm like, this is awesome.
It's
dude.
good, man.
It's so good.
So there's like, this episode wraps everything up really well for me in a way that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Which most shows or seasons don't do.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like any huge like twists or anything. There attempted to be at one point. And then Peacemaker was like, no, actually, I'm going to do what I probably should do.
Right.
And this show is, I mean, we've talked about it before, as outlandish and crazy as it is. It asks like legitimate questions. Like at the end of this finale, we're going to spoil it, as we always do. But if anyone's in chat right now, I'm going to let you know. At the end, we get like hit with this kind of question. So the butterflies are here, and they're like, hey, we're going to help. We want to stop you guys from destroying your planet the same way.
Wait, ours was
destroyed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, although at the end of the episode, this isn't Peacemaker's sentiment, the kind of, like, his actions say, no, we're going to fix this ourselves, or we're not. You're not going to do this. You're not going to take. We need to be able to take control of that ourselves.
Right.
And even though that's not really what he says at the end he says, well, you guys would have been mad at me if I did this. I don't know if that's entirely true. I think part of it is he was like, well, as I have changed myself, I think us as humanity can change. 'Cause that's what the whole show is about. Changing. Yeah. Even with Myrn, my favorite part of the whole season is when his butterfly had killed him and taken it over, and he's like, I thought this guy was horrible. I thought he was the scum of the earth and could never change. And I was like, if I got to take somebody over, I'm going to take over him. And then as soon as I killed him and took him over, I saw all his thoughts and all his memories. I'm like, as horrible as this guy is, he could have changed, and I robbed that from him.
Yeah.
And then that's what the butterflies are doing to the world as a whole. They're robbing our ability to change ourselves and trying to do it for us forcibly. And at the end, Peacemaker's like, no, we're going to do this or we're not.
Activate him.
It's not up to you to dictate what happens in our world.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude. It's really cool.
The show was excellent. I think John Cena was unbelievable.
Yes.
He really took, I mean, even promotions, he wore his costume at every promotion that he did.
On Kimmel
shows,
or Fallon or whatever, he's wearing
everywhere on BuzzFeed. Like he wore everything for promotions, because that was so super smart, and you could tell he's really invested in this.
Yeah, dude.
He really carried the show. I mean, there's always the father-son dynamic in every sort of movie with fathers and sons. I loved the twist with the brother.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really, really interesting. I was like, oh, wow, that's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not cool, but it was, but it added depth. It added later to the character.
It did add depth.
But, can we talk about the end? At the end of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't seen it yet, at the end of the battle, Peacemaker has been talking about how the Justice Leagues are they're
just terrible.
They're terrible.
They suck.
He hates them and all this stuff. And then
they never show up for anything.
And lo and behold, they show up at the end of all the fighting, everything that happens.
And
then he makes an Aquaman joke about him having intercourse with fish. And he says, I don't have intercourse with fish. And then Ezra Miller, the Flash, says, no, that's not an opinion. That's what everyone's saying. And that's that. And I was like, okay. And then Superman was in the dark, not saying anything. Wonder Woman was in the dark.
It wasn't Cavill. It wasn't Cavill, and it wasn't Gal Gadot, because they didn't show their faces. They just showed Superman flying, and you see Wonder Woman with her
so that's when I see stuff like that. When I see stuff like that, I'm trying to hold. I'm really hoping that DC, and I'm not going to put any faith in this, but I don't know. What is DC doing? And
yeah, I mean, they have this though. They have this show.
Yes,
and that's
no doubt. But now they're introducing.
That's cool.
Cavill, Ezra.
They were connecting it.
For sure they were connecting it, but
they're trying.
But then there was this other thing that happened earlier in the week. If you haven't seen it, as regards to the DC, they came out with a sizzle reel for the Justice Society of America.
Yeah.
And I was extremely confused by this because they showed Batman in the beginning, Robert Pattinson's Batman, Pattinson.
I think that was just promotional things.
Yeah,
that's just promotional.
It's promo stuff for the Black Adam and the Flash.
I don't think that they were connecting everything into one. I think they were just like,
all these
movies are coming out.
But there's one line in there that Michael Keaton says to Flash where he says, you can go to any timeline you want and you choose this one. Why? And then that's that. So we don't know what timeline he's thinking about.
I think they're trying to connect it all, and so they can They can kind of keep what sticks.
So they can follow the Marvel thing. So they could be like, oh, we're doing it too.
And I think they're doing it in a really messy, convoluted way. But I hope that they stick the landing somehow.
In the same way that they rushed the beginning of everything and why everything felt so underdeveloped and kind of forced from the very jump. But to get back to Peacemaker.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's a legitimate okay. So what?
You're like, so what now?
That part. I did think the joke was kind of funny. I thought it played well, and it was actually one of the only times where Ezra Miller's The Flash didn't annoy me. Like he was just like, well, it's not a rumor, and then Aquaman's like, F you, dude. Yes, it is. They show up and I'm like,
awesome.
I said in the chat when we were talking about it kind of right after we had all watched it, I was like, logistically, it makes no sense. Why would they not just be there in the first place?
Right.
You know what I mean? These aren't the characters from The Boys. They are actually good, even though Peacemaker thinks they aren't.
Right.
Why would they not just be there? But then I was like, you know what? That joke was funny. It's James Gunn. It's irreverent.
Totally. You have to take it at face value for sure.
And
it was just
ultimately, I really enjoyed the show as a whole. I'm not going to let a little scene at the end where
no,
bother me.
I loved the show.
And the renewed confirmed season 2. You know what I mean?
Keep doing good things. Don't
don't force it. And I think maybe season 2 they might do a little bit more, of course. But it's a good show, man.
Would you like to see him do a Justice League film?
Yes,
James Gunn?
Dude.
Yeah. Yes.
Not one that is as irreverent as this movie. because I don't need like Batman and Superman yelling at each other about whether Aquaman sleeps with goldfish or not. You know what I mean? As funny as that might be, I don't really need that.
I don't need it that far for sure, but I think it would be nice to do like some tongue in cheek, like like it might be like the B Squad Justice League. It might not have to be the big three and everybody.
You know what I still want to see, and it's like out of left field, and it's not kind of. I want to see George Miller direct a Justice League movie like he was going to in the mid 2000s. I think George Miller would make a great one. I think Matt Reeves could make a great Justice League movie. You know who I don't think makes a great Justice League movie? No, I'll stop. Yeah, or the guy who needed like 3 tries at every movie he made. He shall not be named because I don't want people to get mad at me.
Does it rhyme with Zack Snyder?
Yes, actually, perfectly.
Oh, sorry, Snyder. Cultists. I'm sorry.
But I just for now, for me with DC, I'm at a point where I'm not concerned with how connected everything is. I just want stuff to be good.
I just want good movies.
Yeah,
or
you want
good
to be
shows.
entertained. I'm not concerned about any type of connectivity or really making sense.
I'm in the minority.
It's not going to.
I'm in the minority on this. Like, come on, guys, get your heads out of your asses and let's make good, connected stories that we all love and that we've all seen.
So the reason, I think the rest of us are kind of like, well, we want good stuff first, because what they did in the beginning with Batman versus Superman is they prioritized that connectivity, not good storytelling.
Oh,
and that's
totally
why
agree
Batman
with
versus
you.
Superman was a mess.
Yo, and then side note, like what 8-10 years before that, I Am Legend had a post
Batman, Superman,
and Superman thing. It was like a poster, and I thought that was the coolest.
No,
thing
that was
ever.
really cool.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that they should be making good stories, but I think you start from square one. You
The
go all the way
foundation.
back and you start building a solid foundation. So,
and I think the Batman could hopefully maybe be this, and they'll actually run with it.
I think so too.
we'll see. I know that I read an article with Matt Reeves, and he was talking about the possibility of coming back and doing Mr. Freeze as the next villain because he thinks that character is really grounded and has a great story to tell, which I completely agree with.
That would be cool.
Because then you have like Victor Freeze interacting with Bruce Wayne as far as scientists and learners, and then the tragedy of his wife happens and it turns him into, Victor Freeze, and then he has to and Batman knows who Victor Freeze is
cool.
As Bruce and Batman, so he's trying to that would be a really interesting story. But as far as like you said, connecting everything, yes, just give us really good stories.
Yeah.
And if you can connect them, please try and do that, but do it in a way that makes sense and it's not rushed and people don't feel like they're getting things shoved down their throats.
And the resolution isn't both of these characters' mother have the same name, and that's what makes them realize that they're both people. That mother drives me up the wall.
I think ultimately DC, their whole overarching universe or lack thereof doesn't work because they don't have a Feige. And they've never had a plan.
James Gunn.
I was going to say
from
the same
beginning.
thing.
Yep, so was I.
But James Gunn's not Feige.
He's not there yet.
He's a filmmaker. He's a creative guy.
He's a creative guy.
Yes, he's produced before, but like Feige is he
the
really
guy.
rallies everyone together. You need to find a guy or girl who rallies everybody together and gets everyone on the same page. And DC, unfortunately, and Kevin Hamada, they tried it with Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns just kind of faded into the.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But who is it then that could make it work?
Scorsese. He loves comic book movies, and he works really close with Warner Brothers.
As we've heard, he loves comic book films.
Him and Ford Coppola.
The thing with, I think the issue with Jeff Johns was he was not just running the movies. He was also the chief creator, or I think that might be Jim Lee, but he was one of the chief creative officers or something like that for the comics.
Right.
So he's producing the comics, overseeing that, and overseeing.
Oh yeah, he was chief editor of DC
so
at the time.
That's what it is. And creative officer is Jim Lee, I believe, for DC. And it's like you need a guy who just cares about and loves the movies like Feige and just deals with that. And although I understand what you guys are saying, like James Gunn is not a producer and he wants to be on the what boots on the ground making the movies and writing the stories. But I think he could really help coalesce some people and get them together and actually have a universe that makes sense and is fun to watch.
I think it would be more challenging for him to kind of create this connectivity than it would be for him to just make another good Peacemaker season and to make another good DC-based film.
Yeah.
It's hard to create that connectivity because the characters are so different. It's hard for you to say that you can't keep starting over. And it feels like with DC, it was like, I don't know if in a year's time, Donovan, we're talking about this. They just like, they're going, we're making another Flash movie. That was the Flash, but we're going to do Flash again, and we'll see if this one takes.
And we have the Superman, and 2 different Supermans, and then we have the thing, like, just focus on making good projects.
It's like there's Crisis on Infinite, or...
Wow.
I know that they already did that, and it was really poor.
They did that on CW.
Yeah, I know.
They did that on CW.
But yeah.
That's right.
And it wasn't good.
Green Arrow. I believe you.
Green Arrow became the Spectre.
You didn't watch it.
I'm not going to watch it, but I
had to watch it. It was homework.
Right.
That's a quick recap YouTube video. That's what that is. That's the homework you should do.
No attention to it at all, because
Green Arrow became the Spectre. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Spoiler.
What's it called? Yeah. Let's. Yeah.
You're like, I'm not even gonna comment on that.
Crisis on Infinite Earths is a movie that needs to, as I just said, it's a movie. It needs to be a movie
for sure.
It's like it's
not a 3-part special on
bigger
CW.
And more epic than the Infinity Saga. It's one of the largest comic book crossover I've ever read.
Yeah.
And it is also like it was the first. It was the first one to throw all this stuff. And the comic is a little. You can go back and read the comic. It's a little dated. It's a little tough to read.
Yeah.
And they're just throwing everything at the wall. But the overall they did so much, and it was so ambitious that to see that go to a movie screen would be cool.
Crazy.
Or even if we are going to do TV shows, HBO Max with characters that actually were large components of that story, not like I couldn't tell you what Green Arrow does in Crisis on Infinite Earth, the comic, because I don't think he does much of anything. I've read that comic like 3 times.
He shoots an arrow.
I don't even know if he does that, to be honest with you. And Supergirl, I don't remember what she does.
Supergirl dies in that.
She dies. Yeah, she dies. Along with. It's so good. It's so interesting, and it's CW.
It's a great story.
Yeah, it really is.
All right,
guys.
What else we got going on, Frank?
Okay, so we did see that Doctor Strange trailer, but we've got to at least mention the fact that we finally got some type of footage for this long-awaited Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power is be premiering this fall.
Yeah.
It was kind of a teaser trailer. Wasn't a ton, but we're going to take a look at it in the next couple seconds.
These 2 dudes are so stoked.
Oh,
I'm
so excited.
Paul and I are the chairman of Lord of the Rings here at the
I'm dope.
We got 7 months before this comes out. I think we should get together and we should rewatch the Lord of the Rings. We should watch it together.
I literally watched all 3 of the original the other day.
The Hobbit.
No.
The Lord of the Rings.
I'm
movies.
down for that.
I'll make an argument for the Hobbit because what happens in the Hobbit, there's some things that happen in the Hobbit that are important to know before.
That's fine. You can tell somebody that. They don't have to watch that movie.
But you can YouTube it.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Not movie.
I'll watch that when I'm watching my recap of the CW Crisis.
Now, Paul, do we force them to watch the extended versions?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, we're on the same page then. Okay, good.
Yeah, the Fellowship, Two Towers and Return of the King.
Okay.
Like the extended versions of those movies
seen the extended version of the
still
original,
incredible.
the first one.
Awesome.
They're very good.
And believe it or not, for the Return of the King, there's still stuff from that last book that they just completely left out.
Like the Mouth of Sauron.
And like
Sauron's true form coming out and fighting.
Before we get into this trailer,
all right, so we're gonna take a look at this trailer. No. What?
So at the end of the Return of the King, there's a part where they go back to the Shire, and there's a whole battle that happens there that they don't even show in the movie
with Sauron.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, trailer.
So here it comes. The
Sauron. What else is out there? There's wonders in this world.
That's very big moose antlers right there, let me tell you.
I can feel it.
Are there moose in the movie? Meese?
Before the king.
Just so sick. Dude catches an arrow.
Is that Elrond?
Yeah.
I think that's Elrond.
That's also Elrond. That's Galadriel.
Who's that?
That's Thanos.
I was gonna say
Thanos.
Right.
I think it looks
Oh
cool,
my
man.
God, it looks so good.
So I'm wondering who, I cannot remember the name of the character in the Silmarillion who gets the jewel and
Oh
takes
man,
it
they
on
have
the
the
trip.
craziest names.
I can't remember the
yeah.
name of that character, but I'm wondering if they're gonna kind of like move that character up and kind of use him as a surrogate in this story, because so
I think it's Quavo.
there's
Quavo.
there's
that was awesome.
to the best of my knowledge, there's 3 J.R.R. Tolkien Lord of the Rings books. There's 4, 5. There is 5
okay.
Lord of the Rings books. There's the Hobbit. There's the 3 that everyone knows, and then there's the Silmarillion, which was finished by his son. The rest of all the extra stuff that you have
That's kind of cool.
is just
Different.
notes and stuff, because he wrote a bunch of notes and things he had planned
Right.
on writing, and that's where that comes from.
It reads like a journal.
Yeah.
If you read it, it reads like chronicles of Middle
Things.
Earth. That's really what it is. And
Right.
there's some good stuff. They talk about Aragorn and what happens when he's crowned and ordained as king. He lives to, I think, 287 years old.
Or 187, something
Because
like that.
isn't
Yeah, I
he
think you're
already?
right.
Isn't
No
he
thanks.
already
He's already
old?
80, yeah.
80?
But, but what he does in that, he goes to all the other kingdoms like Rohan and all the other ones, and he fights off evil and helps them preserve their kingdoms to be fully restored. And when he's done, he goes back and lives his life and raises a family and passes away quietly. It's really a
That's
beautiful story
sick.
what he does there. So there's really cool stuff like that. And if you guys get a chance to read it or get a copy of it, please do. If you really love Lord of the Rings and the lore of the rings, then you go watch
The
it.
Lord of the Rings. Read this about the Lord of the
I'm
Rings.
curious about this show for many reasons because, like we said, it takes place during the Second Age. We're going to see Galadriel. We're going to see Elrond. Do we see Sauron? Do we see Gandalf?
Do we see Saruman before he goes to the west and gets corrupted and then has to leave his like physical form or whatever?
Yeah,
because Sauron looked like Saruman and Gandalf at one point.
Oh, really?
He is the same type of being. As is the Balrog, the big flame monster that fights Gandalf. Same being.
They come from Valar. That's the name of like where they're from.
Just like dope wizards.
They're like celestial beings, pretty much.
Right.
They're
and they
called
just-
Maya.
Yeah,
Like,
there you go.
is what their spirit is called, and then when they take a physical form, they're called Istari, which is like J.R. Tolkien talk for wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually a point in the movies where I think Faramir calls him by his true name.
Right. And
I totally forget the name because
Don't
it's like
remember what it is,
so
That was good. No, I was waiting for it because like all the name. What was the other? You said something else. The guy from the game.
Triple H.
Oh, Celebrimbor. He's the guy. He's
Celebrimbor. You said Triple H.
He's gonna have a lot. I would imagine he's gonna have a lot to do with this story because he is the one who forged a lot of the rings, and in particular, he forged the One Ring. He was tricked by Sauron into making it for him, not realizing what he was doing.
Sick.
He's a super important character to everything. So it should be really interesting to see what happens.
He's a badass.
Yes, he
in
really
the game.
Yeah, and which is really interesting because the guy that you play, I believe he's a Dunedain, right?
I don't know.
And he's a descendant of Aragorn.
He works on the gates of
Mordor.
Of the Black Gates way before the Sauron moves in.
Follow with us, Frank. Come on,
Listen,
you know this. He's cracking open a White Claw. He's like, I'm done with this Lord of the Rings.
I think it's the Smurfs. I can't remember, but listen.
Right, that was Papa Smurf at the end. The one that was
can't
holding
wait
the hand.
for. It was definitely Papa Smurf.
What do you two think? Two that are not as
I'm
into
looking
it as
forward
us.
to this series. I was not a huge fan of the Hobbit films.
No.
I enjoyed the original. I enjoyed the original 3.
Yeah. Same.
We've got time to get caught up. We will spend some time getting into all of this.
You guys come to my house and we'll watch the movies. I'm down.
Snugglefest and White Claws and
Put
popcorn. Some snacks.
Brisket on the smoker.
Oh, I'm there, bro.
That's what's up.
I'm there, bro.
I'm saying, can you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% yes.
I'm there. Yes, can you please do it?
Yeah, like right now.
That was delicious.
So,
this white boy
listen,
can cook.
we are about 6 weeks away from Moon Knight premiering on the Plus.
Yes,
so we wanted to give some suggestions, 1 or 2 from everybody. Some suggestions for some stuff to kind
4
of
or 5.
appease our geek fix in the meantime because Peacemaker's over.
Yeah,
we've finished.
There's
we
literally
finished
nothing.
the Book of Mandalorian Fett. We've finished that, so we've got about 6 weeks before Moon Knight comes out. Sonny, do you have a suggestion for the Nerdverse out there?
I do actually.
To watch?
I talked about it a little bit for the first season. Raised by Wolves on HBO is really, really good.
Second season's coming out now, right?
Second season's out.
Okay.
And there's 3, maybe 4 episodes. I believe it's 3. No, excuse me. There's 4. One just came out last night with Peacemaker. It's very sci-fi. It's definitely like alien vibes. It's super, really, really weird, but it's really good. And the character development is really, really good. It's shot amazing. It's on this other planet that they're trying to find out is... I don't want to ruin anything. There's something on this other planet that is looking after... I don't want to get too much into it because I can say anything, and if you watch it, it'll ruin it. Go watch this show.
I want to start watching it
it's
this weekend,
super fun.
actually.
You have to be really into sci-fi.
It's Ridley Scott.
Yes, it is.
Right.
So you have to be really into like... Just give it a couple episodes. It's good.
Handsome.
I say don't watch anything and read some comic books.
Ooh.
I encourage you to read the Thor run with Jane Foster and Gore the God Butcher. I encourage you to read House of M. I encourage you to read Illuminati. Read Dark Victory, the sequel to Long Halloween.
Nice.
It's incredible. It's an incredible read, and there's a lot of things that Matt Reeves pulled from Dark Victory that are in this movie.
All these things that you've mentioned are all blueprints of what's going to be coming out visually. So if people can get familiar with especially those titles, you'll have a different understanding for what you're watching.
Yeah, so take your eyes off the television.
Okay.
Get it onto some paper.
Okay.
And read some comic books to get caught up on some things that you're not used to.
Tight.
Pick up some Moon Knight copies. There's a wonderful Moon Knight graphic novel that you could read that explains everything going into Moon Knight. I would encourage you, pick up a comic book, read it, and give yourself a break from a television show and educate yourself.
There's lots of pictures in comic books too.
A lot of
Much
pictures.
easier to read, you know. That's why I read them, because I can't read without pictures.
Paul, what you got?
I have not started watching it, and I've had a lot of I'm not sureness around it, but I have not heard a single bad thing about Superman and Lois. And the only thing that makes me go, I don't know if I want to watch it, is that it is in the Arrowverse, and I'm afraid they're going to start connecting stuff with it.
They have to.
But I have legitimately heard nothing but good things about it, and I am going to watch at least the first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
And then if I'm like, you know me.
I do.
But I also am going to start. Okay. This isn't something I anticipate to be any good. It's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, everyone should go watch this. I haven't started it yet.
What is it?
It's Pennyworth on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
I am almost, maybe the phrase would be morbidly curious as to what it is about and what is going on in it. And I'm like, what? So, where does this take place? So I'm going to check out Superman and Lois and Pennyworth while we kind of wait for something else to get started.
Okay, Raised by Wolves, Pennyworth, Superman and Lois, all great suggestions. I had one more for you. It's more in the animated front.
What you got?
The Variant, who's not here tonight, he's on assignment. He had suggested to me, there he is. He's in the shadows. He had suggested this thing to me. I don't know anything about League of Legends. I've never played the game. I don't know anything about it, but there's an animated series. They release it in consecutive weeks on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's called Arcane.
I've heard good
I've
things.
watched the first 3 episodes. I really enjoyed it, and I think I just started watching a bunch of other stuff, and I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
But everybody's told me that it's really good.
I've heard good things.
And then my other suggestion would be, according to my buddy Ryan, he said it's somewhere, he says, I would put it on the coolness factor somewhere between Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. That show that we did watch the trailer for this Amazon, The Wheel of Time. He said it was actually pretty good. He goes, the first couple episodes were kind of rough to get through.
That's why
when they premiered it, they put out the first 3 episodes, and they said a lot of people stopped watching it.
Yeah.
After they saw the first 3, they didn't wait to watch anything else, but they said it picks up a lot, and it was good.
Okay.
But I'm gonna finish Arcane, and then I might watch Superman and Lois or Wheel of Time, or Raised by Wolves. Variant's been bugging me to watch Raised by Wolves for a year. So
he likes it.
Yeah, he's
tight. Yeah, it's really good.
Ridley Scott. He's all about Ridley Scott.
It's just as far sci-fi as you can go.
What platform is it on?
It's HBO Max.
Raised by Wolves on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's exclusive.
Wheel of Time is Amazon Prime.
I think Superman and Lois is HBO too. No.
Yep.
Yes, and kind of something I've heard about the past week or so. Speaking of Ridley Scott, they are going to be making a sequel television show to Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we heard that.
I did hear that.
I am
You're stoked
super
for that.
excited about
Yeah.
that.
50 years after the last film.
It's called 2099, I think is what it's called.
Interesting.
I am very interested.
Sick.
And Kevin Feige announced I guess in the last couple of days, but he's kind of made it official. It's always been kind of leaked out there. We were talking about this 6 or 7 months ago, that there isn't going to be an Avengers film in this phase.
Yeah.
According to Mr. Feige,
That was the last.
that was the
one.
last Avengers film. That the films that you see going forward will have some other title,
Right.
but there won't be another Avengers movie.
Yeah, that was
not
it.
saying there can't be a new Avengers, not saying there can't be a young Avengers,
Right, but the Avengers is done.
but the Avengers films are done. There won't
And
be
I'm
another
okay with
Avengers
that.
For
film,
now.
and that's okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
with
for
that.
now.
Until marketing tells them,
Until
hey,
they're
this
like,
movie's
hey,
gonna
where's
make...
all our money? Let's get another Avengers movie going.
Yeah.
It'll
that's
be a
true.
team up. There's going to be another big team up movie, but it might not.
We've
be
got
Avengers.
Secret Invasion on Plus.
What about-
We've got all these other 4 and 5 series that are going to be on Plus over the next 2 years.
Yeah, dude.
Avengers versus X-Men. Does that count as a non-Avengers name for a movie?
well, I mean,
They'll do
it's in
X-Men
the
versus
name.
Avengers or something and switch it
Yeah,
up.
Yeah,
right.
what I mean, what qualifies that if it starts with Avengers, then that's an
If
Avengers
it's in the
film.
name at all,
I don't know,
weird thing to say.
because they
Also,
marketed Avengers versus X-Men as
I
AVX.
do want to remind everyone that after Infinity War came out and everyone was speculating as to what the name of the sequel was going to be, everyone's like, well, it's probably going to be Endgame. Because
That's the
Strange
end.
says at the end, he says, we're in the Endgame now. And everybody's like, it's going to be Endgame. And Kevin Feige came out and was like, nope, it's not going to be Endgame. Nope, that's not going to be the name. Sorry, you're wrong. And then it was Endgame.
Yeah, then like 4 months later, it was like Avengers.
So,
Endgame.
Endgame.
I mean,
okay.
he's
It's a good name though.
he's a little loosey-goosey with his words for naming. That's all I'm saying.
Loosey goosey.
Well,
That's such a weird thing to announce. Like,
Right.
it is.
it's such a weird thing to go, yeah, no more Avenger movies. Then you go, oh, okay, so we're not gonna. Well, then why are we watching all these movies?
But
Like, doesn't
also,
make sense to me.
it's a weird thing to like care about.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
It
true.
is.
I don't particularly care if there's another Avengers movie.
No.
Like I'm like,
I'm still
wait,
gonna be
name
I'm
the
still gonna be
Avenger-
pre-ordering all these tickets
Right,
and going
like-
to
They
them
call
the
it-
night before.
Yeah, they could call it Iron Man 6,
Yeah.
and then just put all the Avengers in it. And
Iron
it was
Man
like,
6. We're gonna skip 4, 5.
Yeah,
Just Iron
well,
Man
you know what I
6.
mean. We're gonna get to a 4 and a 5 and a 6.
Right.
6, dude. Just roll to the 6.
Iron Man 6.
Yeah, just
that
roll
would
out
be
6.
hilarious. Just name it Iron Man 6
Man
and have
6.
everyone going.
Confuse people and say it's Iron Man 6. They're like, oh, I missed 4 and 5. It's like, you missed 4 and 5. You must not be very up on what's going on in the MCU.
true.
I imagine that's what
Idiot.
people who were like born like around the prequels time came out, and like because they changed that to episode 4, 5, and 6. Whenever they did that,
I
and
was
people
so
were kind of young. They
confused.
were like, "Wait, did I miss one?"
I was so
Yeah.
confused for so long, dude. I'm like, what's going on?
I remember having arguments with people. We gotta go. We got a couple minutes, but I remember having arguments with people who were like, they were like red in the face, yelling at me like, George Lucas wrote in episode 7, 8, and 9. I'm like, he clearly didn't. He clearly didn't. And then when the prequels came out, I'm like, you really thought he wrote a 7, 8, and 9? Really?
Yeah, no.
Stop it. Stop it,
I liked all
guys. It is so good to see your beautiful faces, your shaved faces.
His beautiful face.
And tonight
All
it's
just out here
taco
normal.
time.
It's beer time.
Okay, it's taco and beer time.
Get some of them munchies.
Sonny, what do you got?
I was gonna yell, and then I decided not to.
I love you guys. I like your addition. Read some comics.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much good stuff out there. I cannot wait for a margarita with my boys. Mans didn't get there last time, so
Guy rear-ended
That
me.
was,
Lord.
that was terrible.
That was fun.
He sent a picture of like the back of his truck, which was basically fine. He was like, "I will never financially recover from this."
I'm
The
never
meme.
gonna financially recover.
I took a selfie like pounding a beer at the
Yeah.
restaurant.
Paul, what you got?
Follow the Instagram, follow the Twitter _comics. My life's been a little crazy, but I'm getting back to getting clips up there and pushing stuff out on there. Come support. Be here watching. There's a lot of people watching today in the chat. Shout out Marshall, Tanya, Julio. Thank you guys for chatting it up with us, and we're just glad you're here to listen to us yell at each other, and like me and Donovan go off the rails, and Frank try to ring us back in. You know what I mean?
We did better than we did last week.
Unsuccessfully.
I'll give you that. We did way better than we did last. Last week we were off the rails for
Miss
sure.
You were railed
Miss
off.
you, Julio.
Okay.
Congratulations. My buddy is having babies, having twins. Congratulations.
congrats,
man.
buddy.
Love you.
Boom.
Oh,
Nice.
All right.
Guys, make sure you add us to your pull box. We love you. We'll talk to you next week, and it's taco time.
Yeah, baby.
Taco Thursday.
I was hungry. I was so hungry.